brothers and sisters within the Kingdom of England, Empire of Albion. You know who it is. It's Archbishop Belmont from the illustrious noble house of Belmont, as well as the Archbishop of the Third Temple English Church of England, that's headed by our King Clifford Jefferson from the Royal House of Plantagenet, the Christ, or the Cristo for the English people, aka King Edgar the Peaceful Return. I'd like to also give honors to our Queen Lisa Jordan from the House of Godwinson, to the members as well as the trustees within the Kingdom of England, as well as those brothers and sisters who are descendants of Great Britain. And Great Britain is a connection or a compilation of Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, and also to the brothers and sisters who are descendants from the Kingdom of France, the Kingdom of Portugal, the Kingdom of Aragon and Castile and Leon, as well as those brothers and sisters who have found themselves to be actually Anglo-Saxon Berbers that scatter amongst the world, and then also those brothers and sisters who have been underneath the occupation of the East Indian Company, who are actually the descendants of these kingdoms that we spoke about, going all the way back to the time immemorial. But I'm coming to you to bring clarity to the world who still has been shrouded in darkness. But now this is the year of the dragon, 2024, and dragon means light. And the light does what? It reveals. So this is what I'm going to be doing, as me revealing those of you who need to know this information, the truth regarding who you are, by showing you who I am. And if you see yourself within me, then this is who you are as well. And this is how I was able to find myself. First, after the king came back into the existence, once he told us it's going to be through your surname, I utilized my surname. My surname is Belmont. And then be able to tie that together, knowing that there was many different variations of my surname: Belmont, Beaumont, Belmont. Same people, same family, different variation. You just need to find yourself within those different name variations and trace your lineage back. And based off of that information, I was able to find out that I was related to the ancient or illustrious noble house of Beaumont or Belmont. And my mom named me Dion de Belmont, which is de Beaumont. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this. And this is coming from the Public Medievalist regarding Robert de Beaumont as portrayed by Jotham Annan in BBC's 2017 1066, A Year to Conquer England. And 1066, for those of you who know your history, was the year of the Norman conquest, which we call the Battle of Hastings, which was the last fight of the Kingdom of Wessex or the House of Wessex before the Kingdom of England had now been overcame by Normans, who are now known as Anglo-Normans. All right, so let me go ahead and continue. It says racism in the Middle Ages, uncovering the African presence in medieval Europe. And now, for those of you who know the term African or Africa is just a misnomer, telling you that these people are actually truly Berbers. All right. If you want to know how I know that, go look at the South Carolina Negro Act of 1740, Section 4, where it tells you that those Negroes who are known as Africans are actually the ancient Berbers. All right. So let's go ahead and get to this. It said this part of 17 of the Public Medievalist continuing series on racism in the Middle Ages by Adam Simmons. You can find the rest of our special series on racism in the Middle Ages here. It says the BBC is revising history to suit its own anti-white narrative. False. The BBC isn't revising anything. They're actually presenting you the truth, and those who have been living off of the fraud are now upset that the truth has now come out, because it displaces their position in the world. You have to find out who you come from, because what you think you have been claiming is not truly who you were or who you truly are. All right. So claimed the commentator at the right-wing website Bias BBC, The Project of the Ire, the 2017 three-part BBC drama documentary of the Norman conquest of England 1066, A Year to Conquer England. The reason for this critique is that in this series, Robert de Beaumont, one of William the Conqueror's main aides, was played by an actor, Jotham Annan, who was black. The historical Robert was not of African descent. BS, he was. He wasn't African, he was a Berber. But the BBC's portrayal raises a question: were sub-Saharan African people, Berbers, present in medieval Europe? Yes, they were. Despite their glaring absence from many histories, both popular and academic, they were. See? They came as traders, as explorers, as warriors, or for those we only know by the archaeological record, for many reasons that we will never know. One particular came as king. See, so once again, they're telling you that these people were all dark-skinned folks. All right, even our king. The Fourth Crusade encounters a Nubian king, Robert de Clary was a French knight who was part of the ill-fated Fourth Crusade. In his account of the Crusade, Conquest of Constantinople, which he wrote around 1216, this is the year of King John, before he passed the year right after he passed the Magna Carta of 1215. He offers a tantalizing account of the presence of Africans, aka Berbers, in medieval Europe. From it, we can begin to construct a wider picture when placed in context with other sources. According to Robert's account, in 1203, the Crusaders on the Fourth Crusade were in Constantinople, playing a part in a major imperial power struggle. They had come there upon a request of Alexios IV Angelos, with the aim to restore his deposed father, Isaac II Angelos, to the throne, ultimately resulting in both being jointly named as co-emperors. While they were in the city, they witnessed the unnamed Nubian king, as Robert described, and while the barons were there at the palace, a king came there whose skin was all black and he had a cross in the middle of his forehead, and that had been made with a hot iron. This king was living in a very rich abbey in the city, in which the former emperor Alexios had commanded that he should be lodged, and of which was to be lord and owner as long as he wanted to stay there. Robert's description of the king having a branded cross on his forehead would have been true for a Nubian at that time, a practice that is still occasionally continued today among some communities. This is a detail that was unlikely to have made up, which means that it likely was true. All right, then there's a map of Nubian Christianity. Egypt, Nobadia, Marcoria, Alodia, said the kingdoms of Nubia. In order to claim that the Middle Ages and Christianity were implicitly white requires you to ignore or erase huge swaths of history. One of those is the entire history of the black African Christian kingdoms that thrived in Northeast Africa during the Middle Ages. Some of these were the kingdoms of Nubia. Nubia includes the region to the south of Egypt and now known southern Egypt and Sudan. It stands as one of the corridors between sub-Saharan Africa and northern Africa along the winding banks of the River Nile. Medieval Nubia existed roughly during the same time span that scholars attribute to the European Middle Ages. The long 1,000 years between the fall of the kingdom of the Meroe in the 4th century CE and its eventual cultural conquest by Arab Muslims from the north over the 15th century. Over most of that 1100-year span, Nubia was a Christian kingdom. It was officially Christianized by Byzantine missionaries in the 6th century. It stood as one of the several black African Christian cultures in the region. Until around the 8th century, the Nubian region consisted of 3 separate kingdoms, Nobadia, Mukoria, and Alwa. But at some point at the beginning of the 8th century, Mercuria annexed Nobadia, leaving 2 kingdoms despite being one of the churches of the East. Example, non-European Christians, Nubia and its neighbor Ethiopia, are rarely mentioned in discussions of early Christianity. Despite this, they stand alongside the Christian communities that existed in Syria, Armenia, Georgia, India, or even Egypt, and more. They existed not just as isolated churches, but as explicitly Christian kingdoms. And you can read the rest of this on your own. It's pretty much kind of giving you an idea that who these people were, and this is coming from an account from someone who is playing one of my ancestors. All right, we're going to go ahead and peruse through this real quick so y'all can kind of get an idea. All right, so let me go back to the top. Let's go ahead and get another look of this brother, Jotham Annan, who was playing Robert de Beaumont. And once again, Robert de Beaumont, this is my ancestor. Okay, so here's House of Names, Beaumont history, family crest and coats of arms. It says England, France, Ireland. Said you show the line of Judah as well as the fleur-de-lis. The fleur-de-lis were representation of those descendants of Christ. It says Beaumont is one of the many names that the Normans brought with them when they conquered England in 1066. The Beaumont family lived at Dorset, Gloucestershire. There existed at a remote period a family of Beaumont in Normandy, and it was probably one of its cadets whose name was inscribed on the muster roll at battle. Certain it is that he could not have been the founder of the illustrious house of Beaumont, which in 2 centuries after appeared so prominently conspicuous among the most potent barons of the realm, and which was established in this country by Henry de Beaumont, 4th son of Agnes de Beaumont by her husband Louis II, son of Charles, king of Jerusalem, and nephew of Louis IX of France. And it says the surname Beaumont was first found in Dorset, Gloucestershire, with Roger de Beaumont, who we've spoken about, who was actually the father of Robert de Beaumont. It appears in the Domesday Book as chief tenant. According to Sir H. Ellis, he was near kinsman of the conqueror, so that means they were related, being lineal descendant of that king's great-grandfather. Some trace the noble English families from the Viscounts Beaumont of Normandy and others from the blood royal of France. The childhood of Ryle and Northumberland is of particular interest to the family. This was the lordship of John, Lord Beaumont, who died seized of Ryle about the year 1396, leaving it with many other estates in this county and elsewhere to his son and heir Henry, then 16 years of age, who was knighted at the coronation of Henry IV. Upper Whitley in the West Riding of Yorkshire was home to another branch of the family. The founder of the ancient family of Beaumont here was a knight hospitaller of St. John of Jerusalem, who received the manor on condition of performing certain military services in the time of Henry III. Whitley Hall has ever since been the principal residence of the family and is now in the possession of R.H. Beaumont. Robert de Beaumont was Count of Moulins, a feudal statesman and son of Roger de Beaumont and grandson of Humphrey de Wielis. His son, Robert de Beaumont, that's what we were speaking about in regards to the 1066 William the Conqueror BBC film, Earl of Leicester, was justiciary of England, and a twin with his brother Waleran. Waleran de Beaumont, Count of Moulins, was a warrior and feudal statesman and twin brother of Robert, Earl of Leicester. Robert de Beaumont, Earl of Leicester, was a baronial leader and son of Robert de Beaumont. The leading manor of South Taunton, Devon, was once in the Beaumonts, being granted by Henry I to Rosalind Beaumont, Viscount de Maine, whose granddaughter brought it to Roger de Tony. And then you have Belmont. This is how I spell my surname now. It's showing you the same crest. England, Ireland. The only reason why it doesn't show France because Belmont is English, means beautiful mountain, and Beaumont in France or French means beautiful mountain. So same people, same family, just different name spelling. It just shows you the same information. Belmont's name was carried in England, blah, blah, blah. Same thing. And it shows you the spelling variations. It says before the last few hundred years, the English language had no fixed spelling or system of spelling rules. For that reason, spelling variations occurred commonly in Anglo-Norman surnames. Over the years, many variations of the name Belmont were recorded. You see, Belmont, Beaumont, Beaumont, Belmont with a double L, Belmont without a T. It's all the same. And go de Beaumont, which means of the beautiful mountain or of Beaumont. And here's the crest in France. Like, once again, same family. Just in this case, we're in France, or that's where we descend from. We also descend from Scotland, but I'm going to focus only on the England and France because England and France are technically one and the same because of blood lineal or nobility. It says the surname de Beaumont's topographic local name, which is in the form of hereditary surname. So our surname is hereditary. This is family. This was our family name, and it only could be passed down by blood lineage. So that's the reason why we don't see too many people over here, so-called in America, named Belmont or Beaumont who look like me, because it was only family who had this surname, and then those imposters took it, and clearly, like, you don't really hear too much about it beyond they use it in so many different territories now, but it doesn't trace it back to the originators of the name, which is the family. It says early origins of the de Beaumont family. The surname de Beaumont was first found in Dauphiny or Dauphin, Wano, a former province in the southeastern France, where this family held a family seat since ancient times. So that lets you know that my family also too are what you know as the Dauphin or the Dauphin nobility in France. All right, let me now, for those of you who are still confused, want to say, how do I know for sure these are my people? Well, let's go ahead and look at one of my ancestors to wrap this up, to let you know that we are the descendants of the de Beaumont or the Belmont, noble house of Beaumont. All right. Now, the problem many of you are going to have is you're going to see a lot of whitewashed images, which is going to confuse you and make you think it's not you or not your people. But these whitewashed images are nothing more than an artist's rendition, which is nothing more than a license for them to create these characters or our people in their image. All right. It doesn't mean that it's factual. It's just they have a license to be able to do so. All right. So it's saying Francois de Beaumont, Baron de Aldrich, 1512 to February 2nd, 1587. So that means he passed 400 years before I was born. I was born in March 12th, 1987. All right. He said he was a provincial military leader. He fought the Valois monarchy during the Italian Wars, distinguishing himself under Marshal Brissac. He fought against the crown for the Huguenots rebels during the first French Wars of Religion. Conducting himself with great brutality in his campaigns, he supported the crown in the subsequent civil wars. Having retired, he died on his estates in 1587. Now, when you go looking for your ancestors, don't think you're going to find all the good ones, because everybody in our family weren't good, and they all weren't bad. So you just gotta, like I said, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Use what you can use, because the goal is to connect yourself genealogy wise, and you cannot and you are who you descend from, whether they was good or bad. It's about what you do with the power of your inheritance regarding who you are today, to right the wrongs of your ancestors who were pretty much doing ungodly deeds. All right, and now let's go ahead and go to the true image of Francois. Go to biography. You can go to the early life, read that on your own. And here's Francois de Beaumont. This is my ancestor. You clearly see this is a melanated brother, aka a Berber, or they will say so-called Anglo-Norman. But this is him. Look just like me. Nose, eyes, lips, profile looks just like me. All right, and this is when we speak about genealogy, because our genes are very strong, So you're going to be who you come from no matter what. Let me go ahead and show you an image of him and me together, so therefore you can see without doubt or contradiction that I am who I say I am. And if I'm telling you this is who I am, then that means it's connecting me to my ancestors and everything that they come from. And I still have that right today to be that. And as I'm showing you, this is how I was able to find myself. You can do the same thing. And if you trust me, then you should trust the information, and there should be no reason why you don't find yourself coming back home. All right, so let's go ahead and show you the image. And here you go. And here's the image of me as well as my ancestor, Francois. 400-year sun cycle. You look on the left, that's the image of Francois. And you look on the right, that's the image of me. And you see, my mom, she wasn't off when she had spelt, or she named me Dion de Belmont. She didn't even know, but that shows you how the proximity of blood regarding how our ancestors work within our DNA, because they're going to find some type of way to make sure that you connect the truth regarding who we are or who you are. All right. And they're showing us that we never left. We just lost our consciousness, aka our memory regarding who we are. And so once again, now that the king is back and the king's conscience is back, we have the ability to resurrect ourselves. And to resurrect ourselves, we must go back and do good deeds and good deeds and random acts of kindness, like the good people who was known as the lords, aka the gods on the planet. All right. And it's only going to be able to be done one way, and it can only be done through the church. All right. So there you have it, brothers and sisters. Once again, this is the age of revealing, aka the light of the dragon, as us being the dragon heirs, aka the heirs of light, the children of light, the descendants of the kingdom of England, empire of Albion, aka Great Britain. We are back, and for those of you who are jealous of our nobility, it is what it is. Like I said, we can't change who we are, and neither can you. So, it's just best for you to get on our side, so that way we can bring peace and harmony back on this planet, because it can only be done based off of those who have a higher authority to do so. And once again, those who have the higher authority to do so are the heirs and the descendants of the people who have set the tone or set the pace regarding the situations that we are in today. And that's going back to those kingdoms who created these so-called colonies. And once again, those kingdoms who created these colonies had monarchs, and those monarchs have descendants, and only through their children they can right these wrongs. So with that being said, I love you. Please follow along at the Third Temple English Church of England. Reach out to the Third Temple English Church at gmail.com if you've got any questions, comments. We do need help because we are at a state of emergency, so donations are needed. And once again, we come for the English people. For those of you who still have a hard time understanding this, we respect whatever you so-called believe. But at the end of the day, this is not a belief system. This is an intellectual movement regarding the truth and law and history for those heirs who are ready to come home and receive their inheritance that had been long overdue. So with that being said, peace.